My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn. And this review will have spoilers, so there's your warning. But I saw this movie when it was in theaters, and I remember not loving it, but enjoying it enough. Now, quite some time has passed, so I just rewatched it for the very first time, and what was I thinking? This is not a good movie. It is a very bad movie, but let's begin on a positive note. Cassie Lane directs this movie, and I think she does a very good job. This movie is very stylistically interesting, and I loved just all the different bonker decisions she made. The fact that there's a fight where Harley Quinn is shooting people with confetti just made for a very visually pleasing sequence. There's an animated bit at the very beginning of this movie which I enjoyed. There's a random dance number. She did not just phone it in. She really tried her best, and it shows in almost every scene of this movie. I thought the production design was very good. I thought the costumes and makeup were pretty decent as well. And I thought Daniel Pemberton's music was decent enough. It's not his best work or anything, but I enjoyed it. I do wish his music was louder. There's some narration that just completely blocks out the music, and I have to really listen for it. And speaking of music, the actual soundtrack to this movie is pretty good. It really gives this movie a unique identity. I think Joke's on You by Charlotte Lawrence should have been nominated for an Oscar that year. It's a great song, and yeah, so Kathy Lane really delivers here as a director. I don't think she's made anything since. I could be wrong, but I would like to see more from her. But there's one fundamental issue with this movie, and it's the fact that the entire movie is about Harley Quinn rediscovering herself without the Joker when we never saw her together with the Joker. Therefore, the entire plot has no meaning because you just wasted Harley Quinn's character. We're supposed to care about how badly she's been abused and beaten and all that when we never saw that. So just speaking of one movie in a bigger universe, it completely falls flat. And also as a Harley Quinn movie, I think they do not understand this character, and the modern interpretation of her is a 180 from what she should be. Harley Quinn is not this empowering female figure. No, she is a victim character. She was a brilliant, sane doctor who fell in love with a madman, and he got into her brain, and she lost all resemblance of herself and sanity. And she's an evil villain now, but it's also tragic that she went that far, that she's this broken. But now they want to view her as, oh, look at me, I'm all about self-love and I'm good without men, and that's just not who she is. If you want to tell a story about someone leaving an abusive relationship, then absolutely go for it. There's lots of great movies with that plot, whether it's Sleeping with the Enemy or Alice Darling, but don't tell that story with Harley Quinn. It is not applicable. So I feel like this movie has nothing but disdain and disrespect towards its source material. And it doesn't stop there. I hate this interpretation of Harley Quinn, but Victor Zsasz, what have they done with him? He is this evil serial killer that anytime he kills someone, he marks someone, or he puts a mark on his body so he remembers how many people he's killed. And here he just feels like a joke. Which is a real shame. They took Black Canary, a complete badass, and turned her into a bland, generic character. Cassandra Cain, who I'm going to be honest, I'm not overly familiar with, but due to my limited knowledge, they completely destroyed her character. Black Mask is written as a joke. So I just feel like this movie hates every character here. They wanted to tell a movie about female empowerment and female friendship, and they're like, well, nobody will see that, so let's just make it a comic book movie. Well, like, that's not really applicable to these characters. Make it applicable to these characters. It's just, it doesn't work for me in any way. It really doesn't. Margot Robbie, I do like as an actress from time to time. I think she's incredible in Babylon. Should have won the Oscar last year, if you ask me, and I thought she was great in I, Tonya, and the shorter time she's in About Time and Wolf of Wall Street. But she can't carry a movie like this. She just doesn't have that screen presence, and her voice is so high-pitched, and the movie's reliant on her narration, and I'm just going to be honest, she really got on my nerves after a bit. I found her to be annoying. Mary Elizabeth Winstead has given so many great performances, like in 10 Cloverfield Lane, in Scott Pilgrim Forces the World. She's a great actress, but this is the worst performance I've seen from her. She's just so bland and lifeless. Joni Smollett-Bell, I think, is really bad. She has no personality or life. Rosie Perez, she never elevates this movie. It's a very flat performance. Ella J. Basker, I think, does a bad job. Chris Messina is bad. But the one standout performance that I did like is Ewan McGregor. Now, I do not like this interpretation of Black Mask, but for what the movie is going for, Ewan McGregor absolutely nails it. He really does. He's just having so much fun, and he's so over the top and silly, and I thought he just stole every scene. There's one scene where he's about to let someone live, and he's just like, oh, is that a snot bubble? Of course, I changed my mind, and I thought he was just hilarious. So, okay, I've covered the directing, I've covered the characters and the cast. Before I get to the story, I do want to talk about one element of the directing I left out, and it's the action, because I've heard people really praise the action in this movie, and I do think it's well choreographed, I do think it's well shot, but I don't believe it for a single second. The fact that someone of Margot Robbie's figure is beating up all these big tough guys with ease, it's just not believable. And you can do tough females and you can do it very well. A movie like Extraction 2 really excelled in that. But just none of these actresses I found to be convincing. So the action took me out of the movie every time. But I will say the last shot of Black Mask blowing up in the air is really badass. And then we get to the script, and I've kind of already hinted at this, but Harley Quinn cannot carry a movie. It is a case of the minion effect. What is a minion effect? I'm glad you asked. Minions are funny. I enjoy them. I think they're great in the Despicable Me movies. But they can't carry a movie. They're meant to be the side characters, just like Harley Quinn is not meant to be the main character. She is meant to be a side character. And I don't think anyone has the screen presence or even the character depths to really carry this movie. And also, I appreciate that this movie wants to be quirky and funny and stylistic, and nothing script-wise really worked for me at all. I thought the constant flashbacks were irritating, the constant narration was grating, and it just kind of gets insufferable. There's a scene where you see Harley Quinn fighting a bunch of people in a police station, and then the movie's like, wait a second, you don't know why I'm here. Well, let's go back. And they do that a few times, and it's not anywhere near as quirky or as funny or as clever as they think it is. It's just really annoying and I hated it. The story itself is very generic. Like, anything could have happened to any of these characters and I wouldn't care less. And I just, yeah, like, there's a scene near the end where, like, it's got hit me with your best shot, but really slow and dramatized. And it just doesn't have any of the weight and power the movie thinks it has. So, yeah, like, maybe I was a bit too harsh on this movie when I said it's really, really bad. It's not atrocious. It's not a terrible piece of shit, but it is certainly bad. Ewan McGregor gives a good performance, but it's Kathy Lane who's able to save this movie as much as anyone could have. She just tries her best to make every scene as interesting as possible, and she really goes all out stylistically. And it's because of her directing that I'm going as high as I am with my rating, because I think the script is terrible. It's just awful. I hated the treatment of all these classic characters, and I think just looking at it objectively without anything to reference these characters against, I think these characters are terribly written and terribly handled. I don't think anything it's going for thematically works. I think the action is unbelievable. So it's a really bad movie. But because of Cassie Lane's direction, I'll give Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn a 4 out of 10. Okay, have you seen Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin, out.